Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Open Access and Academic Publishing. Thank you for joining us. I am Robert Bianchi from OiPub, a startup working to improve the discovery and distribution of science. We are one of this year's MITA Startup Accelerator You Started 2020 awardees, and we have big plans. More on that later. For now, I would like to introduce our four special guest panelists, each expert in their area. We have Professor Emanuel Sinagra, Dean of the Faculty of Science at University of Malta and an expert in physical, polymer and environmental chemistry. Mr. Kevin Joseph Ellul, Director of Library Services at University of Malta and Malta's national contact point for Open Air, a European Commission-supported initiative to foster open science in Europe. Ms. Kaya Slonina is head of the Open Science Department at the University of Malta Library and is a key person managing the institutional repository OAR at UM and developing the University of Malta's open access policy. Ms. Tamara Schembri, on the other hand, is an executive at the Malta Council for Science and Technology within the Horizon 2020 unit and national contact point for the EU Research and Innovation Programme. The agenda for today is as follows. First, we'll have three presentations, followed by a Q&A session for audience questions, and then a panel discussion. So the talks are first myself on academic publishing, open access, and OiPub, followed by Mr. Kevin J. Ellul on open access, a mode of disseminating scientific research at the University of Malta, and followed by Mr. Tamara Schembri from MCST on open access requirements in Horizon 2020. After this, we'll have the Q&A session and panel discussion. And I'd like to highlight that you can post questions at any time by pressing the Q&A button and posting your query. We will then review these questions after the presentations and the relevant people can respond in the Q&A session. Before we start, I'd like to pass the mic over for a few words from Mr. Alexander Borg from MITA, without whom we wouldn't be here today. Alexander Borg has a lifetime of experience in dynamic projectized tech environments. Currently, he manages the MITA You Started Accelerator, 27 startups accelerated, 10 of which collectively raised over 5.5 million. We at OiPub, of course, plan to beat these figures and set a new record for Alex's scoreboard. Over to you, Alex.
Thanks, Robert. Yeah, just a few words to put things into context. We've been running this accelerator program now for close to 4 years, and we've accelerated now 32 startups with the current cohort. So just to explain to everybody who's watching what this is all about, I mean, in addition to helping the startups transform throughout this 3 to 4 month journey, because during which they have to develop their prototype to be tested on the market. We also ask the startups, and obviously we're also giving them a grant. So we ask the startups to give back by organizing an event such as today, which, it has to be an informative event or some sort of fireside chat about a particular topic. So that's essentially all I have to say. Today's topic is going to be facilitated by OiPub, who are doing a project which we found very interesting. I think it's very much in line with trends and what even the EU is saying about open access. Even when I recall my own past, when I was doing my master's, yes, I mean, it is a kind of barrier to entry when you have to access papers. So I wish you all the best for your continuation of this journey when even after completing the program, and I'll wish you luck for the remaining proceedings of this event.
Thank you very much, Alex. So then we'll jump into the first presentation. So you should be seeing I've reshared the screen. You should be seeing.
Yeah.
Aha, there we go. So, thank you, Alex. So my talk is going to be on open access, academic publishing, and OiPub. Beginning with open access. I'd like to start with a quote taken from an EU report on open access publishing. There is widespread agreement that making scientific publications available free of charge to the reader can advance knowledge, enable innovation, and contribute to Europe's growth and competitiveness. So let's get right to it. The problem is that academic papers are extremely expensive, both to read and to publish. The average open access paper costs between 1,500 to 2,500 to publish, while a traditional subscription-based article costs between 4,000 to 5,000 over its lifetime. These costs are passed to the reader and the author. This creates barriers to research and slows down the spread of knowledge. The open access movement was born to combat the cost for the reader. So what is open access? Open access is the international movement to make research papers freely available. It was first defined in the Budapest Open Access Initiative in 2001 as free availability on the public internet, permitting any users to read, download, copy, distribute, print, search, or link to the full texts of these articles, crawl them for indexing, pass them as data to software, or use them for any other lawful purpose without financial, legal, or technical barriers. This remains one of the most widely used definitions. The open access movement has grown over the years with some key events highlighted in this slide. Notably, most recently, the EU Horizon 2020 program mandated that all EU-funded research is to be made open access. However, uptake of open access has been slow due to decreased revenue for established publishers, but also due to increased costs to authors. Science needs a good quality, low-cost publishing system to fix this. And this is what we are working on at OiPub. So going back to our problem statement, you'll notice that while the problem of the readers has been addressed, the problems of the authors have not. In fact, they've been made worse, as like we said earlier, the average cost to publish an open access paper is between 1,500 and 2,500 euros. This cost has instead been shifted onto the authors. There's also the problem of information overload. With over 3 million articles published in 2018 alone, and growing rapidly at more than 3% per year, it's hard for anyone to keep up with what's going on in a given topic. So in summary, we have three problems: the cost to read, the cost to publish, and information overload, of which open access is dealing very well, by the way, with one of them, the cost to read. To address this need, we came up with a design for OiPub as follows. We are building a searchable, organized library of all scientific papers, with an integrated, expert-moderated discussion platform wrapped around it, and a publishing system tied into this. To give you a brief overview of our roadmap, our alpha release will have all open access papers and a discussion system. The beta release, on the other hand, aims to grow our database to all academic papers and introduce our topic system, while the gamma release looks towards integrating the publishing system. Here you can see our prototype website, available at oipub.com. This is a work in progress and our very first prototype, but we invite you to test it and give us feedback. The website is already up, but our official launch is on Monday, as we still have some pending items to fill out the database and the website details. Here you can see an example of the search results page. And here is a paper results page with the abstract, comment section, paper details, and a link to the original paper. And finally, the discussion feed, where you can see papers with recent comments. Our competition are, of course, traditional publishers, but these are expensive with information scattered across multiple sites and with no discussion platforms. Or modern platforms like ResearchGate and Mendeley, but these have a different focus, with paper sharing systems rather than known libraries and no publishing systems. As I mentioned earlier, we are launching officially this coming Monday with full updated database of all open access papers, but you're already welcome to test the site. Please do give us feedback so that we can better address any needs we may be missing, though we already have a long list of features we plan to add. The founders consist of myself and Andrew, with Andrew being the tech wizard coordinating development and myself providing the concept, business strategy, and coordination. Thank you for your attention. As a reminder, at the end of the presentation sessions, we will have the Q&A session. So if there are any questions or feedback, I'll be glad to have them. But for now, I'm going to pass you on to Mr. Kevin Joseph Ellul, who is going to be talking about open access initiatives at the University of Malta. Thank you. So,
thank you, Robert. I'll be sharing my screen, if that's okay.
Yep.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, yes we can.
Okay. So basically, the University of Malta has been working on open science, particularly on open access, for quite a good number of years. Subsequently, the scope of my presentation is to give you a concise overview of the projects, initiatives, and collaborations pertaining to open access and open science as a mode for communicating and disseminating scientific research being generated at our university. So basically, when it comes to open science, as defined by the Research Information Network of the UK, is science carried out and communicated in a manner which allows others to contribute, collaborate, and add to the research effort with all kinds of data, results, and protocols made freely available at the different stages of the research process. Subsequently, the term freely within the context of this definition implies that research content is made available without any financial, legal, or technical barriers, provided that the author or creator of the work is properly acknowledged. So the University of Malta has been working on open access since 2014, when we embarked on the implementation of our institutional open access institutional repository, which we have branded as OR at UOM, being Open Access Repository for the University of Malta. An institutional repository is an online platform where academics and researchers can upload a copy of their research publications in open access, or runs on DSpace, which is the main software, which is an open source software. Our repository has a threefold purpose, being to collect the research content being published by our academics and researchers. To this effect, or serves as a platform to showcase the research that is being generated under the auspices of our university through one consolidated platform. To preserve research, every item uploaded on OR is given a permalink, which is a persistent identifier which will never change, thus avoiding broken links to content. Also, the university and the university library are basically here to stay. So we are ensuring that the sustainability of our repository. And the third purpose of our repository is to disseminate research. All content uploaded on our repository can be retrieved through various channels, including the search facility made available on the repository's interface. Content on OR can also be retrieved through the library's main discovery and delivery portal, as well as through various prominent search engines and service providers, such as Google, Google Scholar, Base, Core, as well as OpenAir. The reason being, since all the metadata of content on OR is being harvested by the major OAI service providers. OR has a hierarchical setup, having communities at the very top level. These communities reflect the various faculties, institutes, centers, and schools within universities. Communities are then subdivided into sub-communities, which represent the various departments within our faculties, and then each sub-community has the corresponding collections, which include peer-reviewed research papers, published by our academics, student dissertations, as well as academic journals published within the respective faculties, institutes, centers, and schools. To date, our repository has over 52,000 items which have been uploaded on OR at UOM. The content includes scientific research papers, books and book chapters, audiovisual content, Maltese journals. To date, the library has managed to digitize and upload 80 full-text local journal titles. Our electronic thesis and dissertations, which dissertations are being submitted by our students as part fulfillment of their studies at university. And also, owing to the fact that OR is the sole open access repository on the Maltese Islands, we are providing the possibility for non-UOM researchers to upload their research content pertaining to Maltese culture and identity within a designated community on our repository. So really and truly, as a university, OR is currently extending its purpose from an institutional repository to a national repository. To this effect, content on OR can be submitted by university academics and researchers, our support staff, as well as students, non-university researchers, as well as journal editors. University academics and support staff can submit their research content on OR either through self-deposit or through mediated deposit. Nevertheless, when it comes to university students, non-UM researchers, as well as journal editors who are non-university academics, these have to submit their content through mediated deposit. Self-deposit refers to the process when researchers or academics upload their research content directly on the repository. The content is then forwarded to our repository administrators, who are responsible to vet the items being uploaded, generate the necessary metadata, and then make the publications available in open access via our repository. Mediated deposit refers to the process when researchers provide PDF versions of their research articles to the library. Normally, this is done via emails. These are then uploaded on the repository by our administrators on behalf of the researcher. The repository supports 3 types of access, being open access, restricted, and closed access. Content with embargo periods can be uploaded on our repository, and the predetermined embargo period date is set within the system. Once the embargo period elapses, the item is automatically pushed and made available in open access. For items that are in restricted access, a request a copy button is available. This functionality provides the would-be readers to request an electronic copy of the scholarly work for individual research purposes directly from the author on a one-to-one basis. Moreover, OR at UOM is OpenR compliant repository, which implies that it has been validated and conforms with established European standards for the implementation of Open Archives Initiative Protocol for Metadata Harvesting, as well as conforms with the necessary metadata schemes. As a university library, we were also responsible for the drafting of an open access policy. The scope of this policy was approved by Senate way back in September 2017. And the scope of our open access policy is to support our academics with the publishing of their research papers in open access, to guarantee that any research output produced under the auspices of our university is made available in open access, to support researchers to adhere with Horizon 2020 mandates, which stipulate that all research generated from European funds have to be made available in open access, to facilitate wider dissemination, as well as increase usage and impact of research results, and to enhance the visibility of our academics and researchers, which will in turn augment the reputation and the rankings of our university at large. As a university, we are recommending green open access, nevertheless supporting gold open access when funds for article processing charges are available. Green open access, which is also referred to as self-archiving, is when a copy of a peer-reviewed article is deposited on an institutional or thematic repository, and this is made available in open access. Conversely, gold open access refers to the publishing of a peer-reviewed article in an academic journal, which makes the article immediately available on the publisher's platform. However, as has already been mentioned by Robert, very often article processing fees have to be paid by the researchers or their institutions in order for academics researchers to be able to publish on gold open access journals. The open access policy for our university is made up of a number of clauses which stipulate that researchers are strongly encouraged to deposit a copy of all their peer-reviewed publications on our repository as soon as possible upon publication, that the full text of all publications is to be made openly available at the time of deposit or as soon as possible thereafter, obviously subject to copyright transfer agreements and embargo periods imposed by publishers. Researchers and our academics are free to publish in journals of their own choice. In case of publications that cannot be made immediately openly accessible because of publisher restrictions, the deposit of the content on our repository is still strongly encouraged. Nevertheless, open access would only be secured if and when the publisher's embargo periods elapse. And also, in all cases, all the necessary metadata of all peer-reviewed research publications will be made available immediately accessible at the moment of deposit, and the request a copy button is available to provide immediate individual access, as has already been mentioned, for would-be readers. As a library, we are responsible to provide the necessary support as well as to monitor the implementation of our policy. To this effect, we provide ongoing training and awareness sessions, the scope of which is to equip our academics and researchers with the basic principles, importance, and benefits of open access, as well as to train them with the uploading of their research content on our repository. We provide a mediated deposit whereby repository administrators upload research content on behalf of our academics. We provide the necessary advice when it comes to copyright, CC licenses, as well as embargo periods. We also ensure that we maintain the necessary infrastructure, that is the upgrading and the sustainability of our repository, of our infrastructure. And when it comes to monitoring, we compare the content on our repository against citations gathered from the various indexing and abstracting service, so as to ensure that we capture the research papers being published by our academics. In 2017, the library was also responsible for the setting up of an open science department, which is today made up of 4 full-time members of staff. The remit of this department is basically to promote and advocate in favor of open science, to support academics and researchers with the uploading of their research content on our repository, to process content being uploaded on our and with the generation of the necessary metadata, to provide advice on copyright issues, licenses, as well as embargo periods, and to develop strategies and policies, and to implement and to maintain infrastructures pertaining to open science. As a library, we are currently embarking now on open science, now that really and truly open access is entrenched within our systems. Having data sets made available for consultation and reuse is crucial, since our researchers can build and create new research from existing data sets. Researchers can maximize data reuse. Research results can be validated. The availability of data sets facilitates the possibility to carry out longitudinal studies. Also, data sets increase researcher transparencies and enhances visibility of research, as well as facilitates research across the various disciplines and fosters collaboration. To this effect, the library is currently in the process of drafting and implementing guidelines based on the FAIR data principles. And also we are currently exploring and implementing the necessary infrastructure so as to be able to support open data. The library is also currently involved in various collaborations and projects pertaining to open science. To this effect, we have been active partners within OpenAir for the past 8 years. The remit of OpenAir, which has become a legal entity as from January 2020, is to align open science policies to this effect. This is achieved by engaging stakeholders, as well as by operating national open access help desks, provide open science services, thus enabling open science into the researchers' workflows. OpenAir is also responsible to link research. This is done by establishing common standards which enable interoperability, reproducibility, transparency, and quality assurance. It monitors open science. Subsequently, OpenAir is responsible to build, implement, and support information systems which support research impact assessment, as well as provide training to equip stakeholders with the necessary skills and competencies pertaining to open science. As a library, we also act as the national points of reference for scientific information working group. This working group is a mechanism by which the European member states report on the state of affairs pertaining to open access and preservation of scientific information. Currently, the library is also involved within the CEU, European University of the Seas Alliance, which is made up of 6 European universities, being the University of Cadiz in Spain, the Universities of Gdansk in Poland, the University of Kiel, Germany, the University of Split, Croatia, the University of Western Brittany in Brest, France, and the University of Malta. One of the main deliverables of this project is basically to collaboratively enhance open access to our research publications being generated by our universities, as well as to set up and share infrastructures pertaining to open access. Moreover, the library is also contributing towards a new project, being the Research EU, which will be kicking off in January 2021. To some extent, this project will be an extension of the existing CEU project. When it comes to open science, the scope of this project is to share best practices pertaining to open data, to develop open research data policies, to implement open data repositories, to establish open data ambassadors, whose remit will be to advocate in favor of open data within the respective universities of the Alliance, and to develop training initiatives. And finally, when it comes to collaborations, the library is also actively supporting MCST with the drafting and the implementation of a national open access policy for the Maltese Islands. Subsequently, throughout the past months, the library has actively contributed towards various meetings and provided feedback on reports submitted by Horizon 2020 support facility pertaining to the implementation of a national open access policy for Malta. That is it from my end. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kevin Ellul. So we'll have the questions in the session after Ms. Tamara. But everyone, there's the Q&A button at the bottom. Feel free to place your questions over there. So Tamara?
Let me share my screen. Can Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Great. So I am a national contact point for the Horizon 2020, and well, Horizon 2020 is the biggest EU framework for research and innovation with a budget of a total of 80 billion euro, more or less. What we do, we provide free advice and assistance to organizations and individuals that want to tap into this funding. We inform, raise awareness, we organize workshops, info sessions, webinars due to COVID as well, and we also provide feedback. What is Horizon 2020? It's a core part of the Europe 2020 strategy, the Innovation Union and European Research Area, and it's addressing three main points, which are responding to the economic crisis to invest in future jobs and growth, addressing people's concerns about their livelihoods, safety and environment, and strengthening the EU's global position in research, innovation and technology. It has three priorities with some cross-cutting areas. The first priority is excellent science, and this is aimed towards more the research and towards more academia. Initiatives such as staff exchanges are supported here, and as well here the researcher, he develops his career as well. And then on the industrial leadership, as the title suggests, it's more SME focused and more industrial focused. And then we have the societal challenges, which are a set of challenges that Europe is currently facing. Some of them are food, health, environment, climate change, migration crisis, and things like that. I will delve into more to the open access part of Horizon 2020 now. All beneficiaries of Horizon 2020 must ensure open access. What is open access? It's free of charge online access for any user to all peer-reviewed publications by depositing them in a repository. The beneficiaries here must deposit at the same time the research data in a data repository. I approach this like with the three W's: what, where, and when to deposit. What to deposit: a machine-readable copy of the published version, publisher's version, or the final peer-reviewed manuscript. Where to deposit: researchers should deposit in a repository for scientific publication of their choice, such as their own institutional depository, normally the ones that they are affiliated with, or a subject-based thematic depository, or a centralized depository. And when to deposit: as soon as possible and at the latest on publication. As mentioned before, there is a green and gold open access, and the author, he can choose one or the other. What is green open access? More or less, it's kind of the self-archiving process where the author may publish the article or the final peer-reviewed manuscript in an online repository. And after an embargo period, the Commission has a total of 6 months of an embargo period, and it allows up to 12 months for the social sciences as an embargo period. Then there is the gold open access, and as mentioned previously, normally authors, they have to pay. However, in Horizon 2020 projects, the publication costs are eligible for funding and should be included as part of the project's budget. The importance of open access in Horizon, well, open access we wanted because we don't want to have the duplication of efforts. And we want to build on previous research results and previous efforts, and we want to speed innovation, and obviously we want to involve citizens and society. The future of open access, obviously Horizon Europe, which is the next framework program for research and innovation following Horizon 2020. We obviously, Horizon Europe supports open access as well, and in 2021, early 2021, the Commission will be launching Open Research Europe. It's an open access publishing platform, and obviously it's an open access peer-reviewed public platform for projects funded both for Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe. And here, the submitted articles cannot be published elsewhere, but will benefit from fast processing times and will be peer-reviewed once published. And not standard articles as well will be available here, but even like negative results are included here. For more information, I went to really a quick run through of requirements of open access in Horizon 2020 and eventually Horizon Europe, but there is more information in Article 29.2 for the Model Grant Agreement. I will be more than happy to share this presentation, so you can check out the link that I embedded in the presentation here. Thank you for your attention. My email is tamara.b.schembri@gov.mt. You have my phone number, and as well you can register through our newsletter for more information and updates about Horizon 2020 and eventually Horizon Europe. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Tamara. So we have time now for the Q&A session. So from Mr. Martin Lockman, I would like to ask in regards to the planned scope of the OiPub platform, will it focus solely on aggregating papers published in open access journals, say similar to paperity.org, a multidisciplinary aggregator of open access journals and papers, or are you planning to also harvest metadata from institutional repositories, similar to the metadata aggregators, the likes of Bayes or Core? Thank you. So we are targeting having a database of all papers, basically. It's with regards to, and then expanding it, we're looking into either collaborating with existing databases or having a crowdsource system. Basically, we'll be working on that, expanding it in the beta, but within the alpha, for the alpha stage, we're focusing on all open access papers. We're using as the initial data set, basically the DOAJ data set, and we're building then around that the discussion system, the topics recognition, and all other basically services which we're integrating into the system. I hope that answers your question. Further questions? Can you expand on how the site will interface with peer reviewing? Giancarlo Torpiano. So yes, so basically what we're going to do is we're going to have a system where users gain rights such that people who are experts in the topic of, say, I don't know, chameleons or biochemistry of chameleons will have rights in that area. Through that, basically, then we end up building a network of known experts who will be able to peer review papers. So that's essentially gives you a bit of an idea of how the system will work. Once again, Adrian Galia. What are you hoping to achieve through your alpha phase? What kind of feedback are you looking to receive? Well, we're looking to, first of all, get a bit of traction and see a user base growing. We're hoping to get feedback about the user interface, if we're solving the issues that we see in the systems, basically the pain points or any problems which academics are facing, and if we're doing that successfully, or if there's something which is missing, which we need to address, because otherwise we're not fulfilling the needs of the users. So that's basically what we're working towards. Thank you, Adrian. Further questions as well for the other talks as well? Joseph Bayada, how will discovery of new papers work? Discovery of new, so there's the search engine basically, so that's fine, you can look for things if you're looking for them, but if it's for discovery of new papers, then we're going to be categorizing papers and weighting them by how relevant they are to a given topic. So I don't know if anyone here is familiar with Reddit. Basically, you'll have sort of, within our system, you'll have topics where you have, and then the papers that are tagged with that topic get also linked to those, all the multiple topics that it's of relevance to, and there'll be weighting of the topic tags. So through that, you can then follow a given topic. And then you can sort of, through cross discussion, also share information that way. That is it for that question. So sorry, I'm checking the time. Okay, so further questions for perhaps the other talks as well?
Hi, Robert. I think there is a question by Alexander Borg, who has asked privately here in the chat, rather than the Q question and answer. If I may upload this question or ask the question. Alex is asking, if I understood correctly, rather than opting for a journal, a researcher can publish a paper for free on the Horizon 2020 open access portal. Could Tamara explain what the main steps are to publish a paper, and how is IP tackled? Could you show us an example of a search by sharing your screen? I think that these are two questions for two different people, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. No, the second question is for Robert.
Okay. The first one is for Tamara.
Yeah, Robert, I think it would be helpful if you just could illustrate a typical search, you know, and show it to everyone basically on your website.
So, okay.
Exactly. Rather than so basically, it's normally done in a PDF version, so we can start off from there. And it's available. It's for Horizon 2020 funded projects as well. So it won't be just a normal paper, you know. It has to be totally coming out from a Horizon 2020 funded project, or eventually Horizon Europe. Let's see if maybe I understood the question correctly.
So
that's exactly what I understood at the beginning, but then I began doubting. I understood that they have to be somehow tied to a Horizon 2020 project. So I was correct in my original assumption, right, Tamara?
Yes.
Okay. So there is no portal available for anyone who just wants to publish a random paper.
Well, I can only speak for Horizon 2020. A normal paper. You have to go. There's the green and then there's the gold one. So normally you have to seek out another open access platform. However, there are some other initiatives on OpenAir that they previously funded. Let me try to find it.
Tamara, that would be Zenodo.
Zenodo, yes, that's the one. Okay.
Okay, so Zenodo is basically an open platform whereby researchers can upload any sort of research content, being research papers, being research data, being open source software. And Zenodo is supported, is maintained by OpenAir, and it was really created by CERN.
Interesting.
Who are also partners with an OpenAir.
Okay.
So with regards to, and then I think the second part of the question and then was for me, correct? So I'm sharing.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I think it would be helpful for everyone to see it in action, you know.
So this is the website. You should be seeing it. And you can, for example, see over here, literally just a quick search, and you can see all these search results. Then you can jump into a page over here. In this case, it's grayed out because we don't have a link in the database. But if you go in again here, for example, you can go to an external paper. The discussion and then is over here. So if you sign in, then you can post comments. And that's, oh, and over here, through here, you can jump in to see the most recent comments on papers. So I think though we should jump to as well the panel discussion, because we've now spent lots of time on the questions, and I'd like to hear a bit from Professor Sinagra and Ms. Slonina, at the least maybe their thoughts on the previous items discussed, or if there are any questions or open items on the.
Okay, well, let me talk first about some of the what has been asked, what has been presented so far. And I say this, Kaya, because Ms. Slonina, because Kaya is involved in the OAR. She's very helpful in supporting the academics to put up their publications onto the OAR, and that is something that I think Kevin mentioned, that you know, academics are given the support to do this. I think that the biggest hurdle was, as you said earlier on, Robert, to open access publications. The costs to basically the researchers, and also to the readers. The readers have been taken care of in terms of open access, but in terms of researchers, we have to find the funds. Usually, though, we would have to put these into costs where we put in the grant application, and therefore the grant award body is basically funding that. Having said that, you know, not all grant funding bodies would see that as an eligible cost.
Not to mention, and then the costs still have to essentially be paid. So that is money which, instead of going to research
exactly
or other tools.
I mean, you can either have that written in, or the fact that you know, it can be given in there as an extra. I mean, sometimes, especially with the EU would like to have publicity for what they do. Okay, so even in ERDF funds, which are not research funds, but funds where we get for infrastructural purposes, okay, building up laboratory infrastructure and things like that, the EU loves publicity. They give you money for the publicity. So I can see why, you know, they would actually want as well, you know, to give you money to actually do that, to put your papers on open access. Having said that, I think they do. I totally agree that you're using public funds, and you know, these papers, this research needs to be made available to the public. Okay, so that is a fundamental principle that I think is the driving force, and I think you know, apart from the fact that I think you mentioned some figure as well, that or at least there was a line that actually this increases also the economic growth as well, because you're putting more science into the open arena, and therefore more science can be done based on that science, etc., etc. I'm actually very, very happy that the EU is, and I'm talking now about Tamara's presentation. I'm happy that the EU is setting up something like this as well, a search engine come publishing platform, because that is something that makes it a bit more value for money, because it's setting it up itself rather than, paying out the fees that publishing houses would want for open access publications. I tend to feel that if you're making funds available, private enterprise tends to increase their prices for further profit. I mean, this is the same where you get sort of government grants to do your solar panels, then suddenly, sort of there's a price hike in solar panel prices because, the government will be paying for it. Well, actually, it's not the government, it's taxpayers who are paying for it. So this is good that the European Union is doing that. It's good. And I also like the idea that whilst, sort of like, I'm a bit skeptical on negative results, but showing results rather than, or preliminary results could be something that would be useful as well. So those are the comments that I wanted to make.
Agreed on my end. Yeah.
Can I add something, like even data notes will...
Yeah, that's what I meant, results. Yeah.
What was that, even data? What was that, sorry?
Data notes.
Data notes.
Okay.
So in a way, it's like data without really too much interpretation of what that you would find in a full publication.
So I
also be
very often these are referred to as data sets.
Yeah. And that's that's fine as well. We gather a lot of data that that is not published. Not because the academics are lazy, it's just that the matter that you produce a lot of data that other people would want to use for their own studies as a point for saying is that we for instance in my department recently a colleague obtained data sets from ERA, okay, and was able to look at these and then correlate any changes in, for instance, traffic pollution from prior to COVID and post-COVID era, things like that. That is a way of looking at data from other people who are ready to give that data there. It was publicly funded, and can use that data using their own statistical techniques, modeling techniques and things like that. And that gives added value, because if the people who couldn't do that work, have let it go and someone else can use it, that is also added value that is a driving force in science, I think.
I'd like to ask a question to Mr. Kevin Ellul. Rico, you mentioned about the hosting as well data structures in the OR at UM. Is that already active or is it sort of future plans? How's that going to work generally?
Well, currently with the support and the research done by our Open Science Department headed by Kaya, we have currently done some research, and we are anticipating that really and truly, when it comes to open data, when it comes to uploading our data sets, we'll be reusing OR at UM. As I've mentioned in my presentation, the various communities are subdivided into sub-communities reflecting the department, and then each department or faculty has its respective collections. Presumably, we'll be adding another collection, which will be data sets.
Okay, interesting.
Having said that, a final decision hasn't been taken, but it seems that that will be the way forward. Maybe some comments from your end, Kaya?
Yes, just wanted to add that currently we already have a few data files in OR. Since that was requested by a few of our researchers who already published papers and wanted to share the data, since it was from the Department of Biology, and it was really important for them to accommodate both paper and data, since they were really connected with each other. There are about some new species. So it was very important in this case, apart from just the description within the article, to add the actual data with it. So that's what we already did. But as Kevin said, there are very, very few of the data sets currently, and it all depends on the type of the data. We were not really looking into it that much as of what kind of data sets can be placed in the software that we're currently using. We know that a few of our researchers already used Zenodo as well to publish their research data, and this can be also linked with OR. But obviously we would like to accommodate data sets locally. Since we already developed institutional repository, we would like to use it as well for the data set, so that we will be looking into it in the near future on how to what would be the best way forward, how to accommodate such data sets.
I'm curious on that on my end as well, because well, data sets can have the tendency to grow in size and become, very large, even just from the data management sort of size, that it can be easy to collect a lot of data, and then to store it for a long time can be a challenge anyway. So.
Yes, it is quite challenging. That's why we want to first make our own research, sort of to know how to best go about it. Since we are obviously also limited when it comes to the software possibilities. And you have to remember that also, apart from storing the data itself, you need to have basically a structure with instructions on how this data can be read, because to place data, it's one thing, but in order to really fulfill sort of the concept of open science and research data, future researchers should be able to read the data and to build upon it. So we need to, apart from providing the data itself, also provide the way of how to read the data and how this can be used and reused in the future. So this is another challenge that we need to look into.
Okay. So we planned this session for 1 hour, so I think perhaps we should close here. Thank you everybody for your time. It's been a pleasure, and we look forward to keeping in contact, and we hope it's been informative for everyone who's attended. Thank you everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.